All right, shall we make a start? So I'll just read out the opening verse. May we be keepers of thy flame, and then I'll light the chalice. O flaming chalice, symbol of a free faith, burn with the holy oil of helpfulness and service. Spread warmth and light and hope. Warm hearts grown cold with indifference. Light dark places with justice. Rekindle hope in despair. May we bring fuel for thy fire of love. May the oil of loving kindness flow from us to thy leaping flame. May hands of service shelter thee, that no winds of hate may extinguish thy brightness. May thy light and warmth be eternal. May we be keepers of thy flame. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, well, yeah, nice to see you all, to be back. I thought this morning I'd say some things about a much loved Buddhist sutra called the Karaniya Metta Sutta. It's the Buddha's discourse on loving kindness, universal loving kindness. It's quite short, so I'll just I'll first of all just read out that sutta. It's a few paragraphs. So he says, if you know what is truly good and understand the possibility of perfect peace, then this is how you need to live. Start as a capable person who is upright, gently spoken, flexible, and not conceited. Become contented and happy with few worries and an uncomplicated life. Make sure your sense experience is calm and controlled. Be duly respectful and don't hanker after families or groups. Avoid doing anything unworthy that wiser people would later criticize. Then meditate like this. May all be happy and secure. May all beings become happy in their heart of hearts. May this be true of every living thing without exception, the weak and the strong, from the smallest to the largest, seen or unseen, living nearby or far away, beings living now or yet to arise. May all beings become happy in their heart of hearts. May no one deceive or look down upon another for any reason. May no one want another to suffer. As strongly as a mother, perhaps risking her life, cherishes her child, her only child, develop this unlimited heart for all beings. Develop an unlimited heart of friendliness for the entire universe, sending metta above, below, and all around, beyond all narrowness, beyond all rivalry, beyond all hatred. Whether you are staying in one place or traveling, sitting or lying down, in all your waking hours rest in this mindfulness, which is like living in heaven, right here and now. In this way, you will come to let go of views, spontaneously ethical, and have perfect insight, leaving behind craving for sense pleasures. From the rounds of rebirth, you will finally be released, and one is not born again into this world. So, I mean, kind of powerful to us even now, but I mean, in the Buddha's day, maybe quite revolutionary, when it was probably, you know, a bit harsh living. Anyway, so I'm going to just give a bit of commentary on some of those lines, and it is my own personal comment. I've never kind of claimed to be any kind of Buddhist scholar, and it would be absolutely fine for anybody to say, "Oh, that's not how I would kind of interpret that," or whatever. So yeah, my commentary. So yeah, if you know what is truly good, that's how it begins. If you know what is truly good. Very soon after the Buddha's enlightenment experience, it's said that, or maybe during the enlightenment experience itself, as it's kind of unfolding, it's said that he had a vision He had been debating with himself, I suppose, whether or not to try and communicate what it was that he had seen. And he decided at first that no, it was not worth putting all the effort. There was going to be he said, it's going to be quite tiresome for me to put in all of this effort. And actually, it's so profound, what I've seen and what I now understand, that actually I don't know if there's anybody who will understand, even if I was to try to communicate. So he eventually he said that he had this vision, and it was a vision of a bed of lotus flowers. I don't know if you know much about lotuses, but they grow in water, and some of them in this vision were way down in the mud where not much sunlight was reaching. Some were just poking through the surface of the water with the buds still closed, and some were sitting very free of the water, kind of with petals wide open, basking in the sunshine. And he took this vision as a sort of simile, if you like, or a representative of us, of humanity, that we are all at various stages of awakening. We're all at various stages of spiritual development. And actually, yes, there were people in the world who were quite receptive, quite open, and actually just needed a little bit of instruction. And then they too would understand what it was that he understood. So then he went on to teach for 40 years of his life. And I was thinking, all of us present here today and online as well, well, we are, if we want to go with that vision, and if we take it as representative of humanity, we are poking above the water. Yeah, we kind of got our noses above the water, at the very least. There may be people here who are much more spiritually developed than that, but we have a sense of, yes, there is a spiritual dimension to existence, to our lives, and that is where true good is to be found. You know, if something is truly good, I think I'm right in saying that we have confidence that it's to be found in the spiritual aspect of our lives, and that is yeah, to be cherished and to be kind of cultivated and paid attention to, and allow it to sort of lead us. Sangharakshita, the founder of the order to which I belong, talked about it as what is ultimate in us responding to what is ultimate in the universe, or resonating with what is ultimate in the universe. It's faith, isn't it? I'm kind of talking about we are people of faith, yeah. And yeah, as I say, we have confidence that the ultimate good is a spiritual matter as opposed to more worldly pursuits. If you know what is truly good and understand the possibility of perfect peace. So yeah, so the Buddha's kind of saying here that the reason that the ultimate good is to be found in the spiritual aspect of our lives is that only there is there found a path to perfect peace. It's not found in any other path. Isn't, you know, any kind of more worldly path is not going to lead us there, to this perfect peace that he's talking about. And we might have various ways of kind of thinking about that and talking about that, whether we understand that as a kind of personal relationship with Christ, this path to peace, or reuniting with God, with our Creator, or breaking through into the enlightened state. You know, we might have various ways of kind of trying to sort of conceptualize that path to perfect peace. But however we understand it, ideally it would not ever be lost sight of. I don't ever want to kind of lose sight of that kind of ultimate goal of the spiritual life. Even though I do understand when people sometimes say to me, well, rather than concern ourselves with a lot of these kind of very big ideas, very kind of big, almost metaphysical, conceptual ideas of perfect peace, enlightenment, God even, they want to kind of, well, I just want to kind of bring it back down to here, and how am I living today? How can I be kinder today? And that, that is undeniably true. That, who could argue against that? I'm not trying to argue against that. But as I say, even what at the same time, even whilst kind of putting one foot in front of the other, ideally that higher vision of the spiritual life, which today we're rendering as coming to know a state of perfect peace, would always be retained. I don't think that this might be a kind of personal, I'm sure it is, opinion, but I don't think that the Buddha taught for 40 years of his life, so that, and I don't believe that Christ went through the hardships that he did, so that we could just be a bit kinder with each other. As important as that is, as crucial as that is, vital as it is, they taught so that we could completely free ourselves from the trappings of this world and come to know eternal, lasting peace. And anything short of that could be argued to be a bit of a disservice to their efforts. Then this is how you need to live. I think one of the reasons that this sutta is so kind of well loved is because it's one of the rare occasions where the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings, is laid out quite straightforwardly. It's very pragmatic. The Dharma can very often be difficult to grasp, especially in the original, maybe because of translation and because it was an oral tradition for many years. So therefore it's quite repetitive and just can be very hard to kind of, it's not an easy read. It's not a bedtime read, any of the sutras. But this particular sutra is kind of, well, do this. This is what you need to do this. And I think that's always kind of welcomed. As usual, though, not any sense of a commandment. It's not some authority saying this is how you need to live. It's saying if you're interested in knowing perfect peace, if that's an endeavor that you deem worthwhile in this life, then this is what you need to do in order to make that arise. So the voice of Buddhism is, if you like, it's always like that. It's never an authoritative voice. It's kind of a guide, some sort of a helpful guide. Start as a capable person who is upright, gently spoken, flexible, and not conceited. So capable, having confidence in ourselves. The Buddha taught all sorts of people, as did Christ as well, because they knew that everybody was capable. Everybody's capable. It's interesting, isn't it, that to be of the opinion that you are not capable of living the spiritual life effectively is, in a way, just as much an ego position as the other end of the extreme. If somebody said to us, it's very easy for me to live the spiritual life. Nobody can live it as effectively as I can. It's very hard for other people. It's very easy for me. We kind of think that they want some sort of ego trip, deluded. But actually, the same is true of somebody who says, well, I'm the only one who can't do this. It's still setting oneself apart in some way. It's still kind of saying there's something different about me. But of course, in this regard, there's nothing different about you or me. There's nothing special or different about me. So we're all capable, and I think we could take a lot of confidence in that alone. Upright here could refer to what we call virya, which is like a spiritual energy, energy and effort that is always in pursuit of what is good. Upright as in knowing the direction that you want to go in and being quite sure-footed about it, quite determined. Tenacity, you could say, is a kind of decent word as well. But upright could also refer to what we know as ethical conduct. So upright as in, observing the precepts or the commandments or any kind of true ethical code, and being kind of upright and honest and honourable. So the path to perfect peace starts with paying attention to our actions and refining them until they are ethical, until they are upright. One of the ways in which we act, and Buddhism talks about actions of body, physical actions, actions of speech, and actions of mind, what we think. So that's the kind of totality of human action. And out of all of it, it's speech that gets a mention here, gentle speech. And that's not surprising to me because it is, very often when I teach children a bit about Buddhism, they want to come to the center and learn a bit about Buddhism. And when we go through the precepts, they're interested in which one do you find the most difficult to live by. I have to say it's speech precepts because it's something that we're doing all the time, isn't it? It's kind of, we're talking from the moment that we get up in the morning and the moment we go to bed and the moment we're born to the moment we shuffle off. So it's something that just needs constant engagement and constant mindfulness, and that it is difficult. And so with this particular descriptor, gentle speech, I can't help but feel that in that word gentle lies all of the other factors or conditions that could go to make perfect speech. So like kind speech is gentle, truthful speech is gentle, helpful speech is gentle, harmonious speech is gentle. They're all of those qualities, there's nothing harsh about any of them. They're all quite kind of soft. So gentle seems to be a good word to consider when it comes to being mindful of our speech. If we can speak gently, it kind of suggests that we would be getting it all correct. We'd be getting it all right. Everything else would kind of follow. When speech isn't gentle, I suppose that's when we are sort of inserting ourselves, being a bit of a dominant presence. Gentle speech is when there's been, a bit of consideration over what words, how they're used, when they're used. So timely speech, there's another factor of what could make perfect speech. It has to be, timely. Yeah. So considerate speech. There was a Zen master called Hung Po. I can't remember what century, but one of the things that he was kind of well known for was taking quite a lot of time to answer. Someone would ask a question, and there would be this long pause, and I always quite like that, the confidence to take the time, because it actually can be quite important when someone's asking a question on anything really, but specifically if they're coming and asking us questions about our faith or whatever. It can be important to sort of really consider before responding. Flexible. So that says to me, try to avoid becoming dogmatic. Buddhism, or indeed any other religion or faith or spiritual path, they're usually quite clear on which direction to be going in, what's good, what's good to do, what's not good to do, what's skillful, what's not skillful, what leads to perfect peace, what doesn't. But in all of that, it kind of feels that at the same time we need to be constantly trying to avoid getting caught up in dogmas and views and opinions and all that kind of thing. Even when it comes to ethical codes, to resist the temptation of treating them as though they are kind of a magic formula for all time and all situations. That can be a bit of a trap. Just as the conditions of life are ever changing, that's how flexible we need to be in our responses. So so just allowing them to kind of gently guide us rather than getting trapped by them. With few worries and an uncomplicated life. So yeah, there's a reason why the Buddha and many other great spiritual religious figures, Christ as well, I think encouraged their followers to leave the home life and come with them, come with me into the homeless, the kind of wandering life, wandering holy life. Just fewer complications and worries. Even though I know that, you know, that kind of life will bring with it its own difficulties, where the next food is coming from and all that. But certainly free of the complications and the worries of keeping up a household, keeping a job, earning money, and keeping a family. That kind of life, which the Buddha lived, and is one way in which the spiritual life finds expression. It's not going to be the way for most people. That's pretty clear. And yet simplification of lifestyle, or renunciation, which I guess what we're kind of starting to talk about, does have to feature in some way or other, it feels. And that's going to look different for everyone. And just because somebody hasn't given up this particular thing or that particular thing, I don't think that we can say that renunciation isn't happening. It's kind of renunciation doesn't have any kind of uniform pattern to it. But yeah, every spiritual tradition, as I say, that I can think of, seems to be quite clear again and again that we do need to be moving towards having fewer possessions and fewer wants in life in general, without skipping over our needs. But that, you know, that's a danger. If you get kind of overly zealous with renunciation, you can kind of just turn into a bit of an ascetic, skip over your needs. But one of the most kind of interesting or important things to recognize about renunciation is that although it might sometimes feel a bit uncomfortable, you know, I'm not saying that there is never some effort involved in sort of giving things up, but it should never really feel, if it's true renunciation, it should never feel like a hugely painful wrench. Again, Sangharakshita, to mention him, talked about it like that renunciation was more like growing up than giving up. You know, there was a time where we all renounced our childhood toys, but it just didn't feel like much of a, it didn't feel like a renunciation, didn't feel like a giving up, because we just grew out of them. Yeah. And true renunciation is a bit like that. It's kind of, I guess we want different things at different times in life, and things do have a tendency to kind of naturally fall away. Again, I'm not saying that there's not any effort involved, there can be, but yeah, things that we maybe in the past used to distract ourselves or entertain ourselves, they just do kind of lose their allure. And an effective practice that leads to this natural renunciation, this natural falling away, is reflection on the transient nature of things. It's something that the Buddha talked a lot about, that everything is changing all of the time. There's nothing throughout the entire universe that is staying the same one moment to the next. Some things change very quickly, some things change very slowly, but everything is involved in that same process of change. And that actually, if we can come to see that how much we invest in things that are really quite transient, that would kind of start to loosen the grip on a lot of things, if we're aware that they change. And when we have fewer things, there's just less to worry about. It's as simple as that. It's kind of, we don't have to worry about keeping them, don't have to worry about all of the things that we invest in them. Make sure your sense experience is calm and controlled. Be duly respectful and don't hanker after families or groups. So keeping calm sense experience, to me, is, well, it's another nod to what we were just talking about, kind of another nod to simplified lifestyle. And it does seem that there can be more bliss in very, very simple activities when they're done with total awareness than activities that are maybe a bit more extreme, and there needs to be a bit of an adrenaline rush in order to feel something. And yeah, I've had both. I've had quite hedonistic experience, and I've had very, very simple experience of sitting, breathing in and out, with the latter being the more, yeah, as I say, maybe the more blissful in a way. There's something a bit coarse about hedonistic experience sometimes, whereas, I don't know, sitting, watching a sunset, there's something a bit more immediate about that experience, and it's very simple, but it can be more kind of immediately fulfilling and yeah. Don't hanker after families and groups. Obviously, it doesn't mean don't love and protect and provide for your family if you have one. I mean, it's important that we do that if we have one. But it means that although we might always belong to various groups as we go through life, be they familial or religious or political or whatever, try to remain an individual at the same time. Know what it is that you think, know what it is that you feel, stand on your own 2 feet, and try not to give in to sort of groupthink. I think that can be quite a strong pull for people. We so want to belong. Yeah. The sense of your own uniqueness. Avoid doing anything unworthy that wiser people would later criticize. So again, ethical conduct, but this time pointing towards the very beneficial emotion of what we call apitrapia. Apitrapia is like a more helpful shame or remorse. It's not, every time I mention this, I always feel compelled to kind of immediately say it's not to do with guilt. Guilt is, in Buddhism, is thought of as, yeah, just quite an unhelpful emotion. It's often neurotic and just doesn't really have any place in the spiritual life at all. But this beneficial shame is different. It's or remorse is maybe a better word. A recognition that there has been somewhat of a failure of responsibility on my part. Well, there has I have caused harm in some way, and a desire to want to rectify that if possible, not always possible, but to make amends if possible. That skillful remorse, that is something to definitely to kind of develop. It helps with a ethical sensitivity. We're wanting to kind of become quite sensitive when it comes to our behavior. And one of the ways that it can be developed is through confession. So we do have confession in Buddhism. It doesn't quite have the same, it's not exactly the same kind of practice that you might find in Catholicism, but it's, I mean, you'll know yourself if you're kind of doing something that maybe, on some level you shouldn't. When you sit down to pray or meditate, it sort of niggles, and it gets to a point where you just want to kind of say it out loud. You want to have it heard by somebody, and so that you really can, well, first of all, you can make it quite conscious by confessing. It means that whatever unskillful action you've been committing, you are making very conscious, and you're verbalizing it, and somebody is hearing it. But then the whole idea, the ultimate idea of Buddhist confession, I suppose, is that you can then put it down and get on. One more interesting thing about this skillful remorse or shame, it does strongly suggest that consciousness itself has a sort of intrinsic moral aspect to it. If the fact that this niggle arises, this remorse or shame, this recognition that, oh, I've been doing something that on some level I don't want to be doing. it does suggest that, you know, awareness itself, consciousness itself, does have this kind of moral gauge to it somehow. And I think over time, if we pay that some attention, and we do listen to it and allow ourselves to be guided by it, it can start to correct other impulses that are maybe at the moment stronger than it. Yeah. Then meditate like this. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings become happy in their heart of hearts. So yeah, the final few verses of the sutta talk about the development of metta. The main point being driven again and again that metta is completely undiscriminatory. Metta, for it to be true metta, has to involve every single being, whether living or unliving, here or far away, you know, all the list that it kind of goes through, small or big, omitting none. That is kind of metta's main characteristic, if you like. It's not metta if it leaves a being out. Yeah. So yeah, a non-discriminating love, a love that is not personal. It mentions the love that a mother feels for her child, which of course is very personal love, but it uses that as a kind of, well, imagine that love, but extended to all. And you know, how would that be different? How would we be changed by that, if we were able to sort of live from that place, from this completely open, unbounded heart, and made all of our decisions and all of our responses from there? You know, how would that would be, I feel that I would be radically different, and therefore the world that I encounter would be radically different, because Buddhism often talks about how the world that each of us encounter is largely a reflection of the mind state that is perceiving it. So yes, I would be radically changed, and the world that I encounter would be radically changed. And maybe I've made this point already. It's a point I end with. He's not recommending the development of metta because it's nice to be nice or it's nice to be kind, even though that is undeniably true and important. He's recommending the development of metta because it leads to perfect peace. It leads to the ultimate spiritual awakening. Developing it to such an extent that the very boundaries of self and other are completely shattered, and therefore the concern that I can have for your welfare and your well-being, both spiritually, physically, mentally, is completely undifferentiated to mine. Or you could kind of, you know, put it the other way around. The concern that I have for my own happiness, my own welfare, is completely undifferentiated to the concern that I have for yours. So yeah, it's no longer about my happiness or my suffering versus your happiness or your suffering. It's about happiness and suffering wherever it arises. There's no kind of, it's not, I suppose you could almost sum up the whole of the Buddha's message, the whole of Buddhism's message, is this experience that we're having is not personal. We experience it as very personal, but it's, you know, it's not. This is kind of, you know, talking about what it was that he's seen upon his enlightenment. It's essentially what he's seen, the kind of non-personalness of this experience that we're having. So so yeah, it's no longer kind of about my happiness and my suffering. It's just about happiness and suffering wherever it arises. And yeah, so in a way, maybe we've kind of come at it we could come at the whole topic of metta from the other angle. It's more like, rather than talking about how to develop metta, we could ask ourselves, well, what prevents me from experiencing metta? What prevents me from experiencing loving kindness for all beings? And it is that insistence that I am a completely separate individual from you, completely separate entity from you, And that is what prevents me, because for as long as I understand things in that way, then I'm going to chase after what I think is going to be pleasurable for me. and I am desperately try to avoid what I think will be unpleasurable for me, and maybe cause a lot of suffering in doing that. So yeah, even though that all seems like a bit of a far off idealization, this idea of loving kindness for all beings everywhere, we always just make a start right here and now, and we kind of take one breath with loving kindness, and then we take the next breath, and we kind of, again, kind of chunking it down in a way. We try not to shy away from the enormity of the task, and or maybe I'm getting into instruction on how to perform this meditation. So I'll kind of stop, and maybe we'll just do it for a bit. We also try not to sort of fabricate anything. We don't fabricate metta. We don't kind of try to pretend that I'm feeling loving kindness towards all beings. It seems a bit of a dead end. It's much more a case of staying very kind of honest about what we find. We kind of sit down. We might kind of bring particular people to mind, and we kind of investigate, well, what is it like when I wish this person well and happy, and stay honest about what you find there. That's more likely to bring about the development of metta if we do that again and again, rather than trying to sit there fabricating something. It's kind of the intention of sitting down again and again, and the intention behind doing that. When is it now?
When was that clock start?
I mean, first of all, just because the meditation is starting, sometimes we can sort of immediately pile something on ourselves. So just notice that and relax into it. There's nothing expected of you. There's nowhere else you're supposed to be right now, nothing else you should be doing. See if that has a bit of a relaxing effect on the body. Maybe the mind will follow. Just staying with the body for a few minutes, just feeling what you can feel, noticing what you can notice. Using the breath to relax more. When you have some sense of yourself sitting here right now, you can enter into the first stage of the practice, loving kindness for oneself. Just exploring that for a few minutes. What does it feel like? And we come to understand the importance of it. May I be well and happy. May I be free from suffering. Just spending some time getting behind that as a genuine wish for your welfare and your well-being. We do the same with a friend, someone you find it quite easy to feel feelings of love and kindness towards. See if you can get a sense of them or a picture of them. May they be well and happy, free from suffering. And imaginatively put quite a lot of space around the heart area as you breathe in and out from there, breathing in loving kindness into the heart, breathing out loving kindness from the heart, just keeping this person in mind, and relaxing more into the practice. To do the same with somebody who we find quite neutral. They don't spark off any feelings of aversion or feelings of friendliness. You might not even know their name, but you've seen them around. See if you can get a sense of them. We might not know this person very well, but we can be absolutely certain that they have very similar hopes for their future, very similar fears. So just a few minutes of contacting that common humanity that we share, and on that basis, may they be well and happy in their life. Sometimes be a bit of a difficult stage to keep engaged with because this person is neutral to us. So some people find it quite helpful to visualize this loving kindness as a warm light emanating from the heart and falling upon this person where they look nourished by it, secure, happy. The first matter is more like a small fire in the heart, and every time you breathe in, it stokes the coals a bit, it burns a bit brighter every time. Move into the fourth stage. Metta for someone we find difficult. Bring them to heart or mind. Acknowledge the difficulty. And then just see if you can meet it with this metta. And does it change it at all? Does it dissolve it a little bit? Wish this person well and happy. Might not be done with our difficulty with them forever and ever, but just right now, in this moment, we can put the difficulty down and not feed it. So there's a lot of space around the heart now, or heart burning brightly, shining. It can fall on more and more people. And just allow that metta to fill your entire body from the heart. And when it reaches the limits of the physical body, it just keeps going out to wherever it needs to go. People near and far away. May all beings everywhere be well and happy. Just sit in that heartfelt wish for a few moments. The bell, signify the end of the actual practice, and you just relax any effort that you might be making. Keep the heart wide open. And after a few moments, I'll read out a prayer. And you're welcome to listen or to read along. Prayer for Holocaust Memorial Day. Loving God, we come to you with heavy hearts remembering the 6 million Jewish souls murdered during the Holocaust. In the horrors of that history, when so many groups were targeted because of their identity, in genocides which followed, we recognize destructive prejudices that drive people apart. Forgive us when we give space to fear, negativity, and hatred of others, simply because they are different from us. In the light of God, we see everyone as equally precious manifestation of the divine, and know the courage to face the darkness. Through our prayers and actions, help us to stand together with those who are suffering, so that light may banish all darkness, love will prevail over hate, and good will triumph over evil. Amen.